Good morning.
Morning.
How are you? Good, good, good. Good to see you. All right. So I'm going to invite you this morning to think about something you're good at. Most of us are good at something, really good at something, right? What are your competencies? You ever take a competency test in school or for a job or something maybe? Yeah. Most of us, like I say, have something that we're good at or even very good, but our growing edge, our evolution, is those areas where we're incompetent. Now, admitting that we're incompetent in anything is a blow to the ego, right? Oh my gosh, I'm the most competent one. But let's face it, I'm not a neurosurgeon. I'm just not competent in that realm. I'm not competent in astrophysics or astrology, even for that matter. So there are areas where we're not competent. Admitting incompetency and turning that around to curiosity and becoming curious about the things that we don't know opens the door for us to become more competent about things, including kindness. Including kindness. And my talk today is becoming more effective as kindness and expressing it more effectively. More effectively. Last week, Reverend Lee introduced us to this concept of kindness, can't talk, deeper kindness, and what some of the things are that get in the way of us taking our kindness to those deeper levels that the author of our book is talking about. He talked about what some of those things are. So today, we're going to begin our exploration, which is for the rest of the month, about those roadblocks, if you will, those things that get in our way to actually stepping into deeper kindness. So the author, Houston Kraft, he offers up 5 areas underneath the heading of incompetency that block us. So what he suggests in the book is that we might be just incompetent about stepping into this idea of deeper kindness. So we're going to look at that this morning and see if there's room for improvement. Now, most of these things, you know what they are. You're familiar with them. You probably do them on a daily basis. But what he's suggesting is that when we can expand in these areas, become more competent in the incompetent in these areas, that it makes it easier for us to be willing to step into deeper kindness. So the first one is kind communication. Kind communication, or developing a vocabulary that allows us to express the thoughtfulness that we feel. It allows us to express that. Have you ever been at a loss for words? Have you ever seen a situation where you felt it, you wanted to be in it, help, render assistance, but you didn't know what to say? You didn't know what to do? So you didn't do anything? You kind of went, I'll just be in the way. Yeah. One of the areas that most people, in my experience, are not real skilled at is in the expression of grief. We're not comfortable with it. We're not comfortable with it. We have those high level sayings that we use, right? I'm so sorry for your loss. I extend my condolences, my sympathy. I was with a recent widow, a while back, and someone walked up at the event and said that to her, said, I'm so sorry for your loss. And she said, thank you. And they walked away. And she said, I'm so tired of hearing that. That is just not comforting to me. It just makes me mad. And I was surprised. But it helped me to realize that that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. That's that surface stuff. That's that idea of confetti kindness that our author talks about in the book. So what do we do? What do we do? In the Science of Mind, we teach about the power of our words. They're important, aren't they? It includes our communication with each other. And in communicating our feelings of thoughtfulness, we need to just develop some new language and stop using those cliches that we've been using for so long, too long. We need to be specific with the intention of building connection. So instead of, I'm so sorry for your loss, I stand in the sadness with you at the loss of your husband, at his death, at his passing. I stand with you in that sadness. I hold you in this moment, in the loneliness that I know is coming. I'm here for you. But you know what? Those words didn't just rattle off the top of my head. I had to think about them. I actually had to practice them a little bit. Does it sound right? Now I need to turn those and turn these. Would I appreciate hearing those words more than I'm so sorry for your loss? Sure. So it takes work. It takes working on developing this vocabulary to be able to step bravely into this deeper kindness that we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Houston Kraft in the book says, we are only a few inspiring words away from revelation or revolution. That is the power of our words. That is the power of our words. Developing a vocabulary of kindness to truthfully express the thoughtfulness we feel is a competency building exercise. So another area where we can stumble in this field of kindness is choosing how we think. We've got that one down. We're science of minders, right? We choose how we think. But we also know how difficult it can be to stay in those thoughts that we're choosing rather than going back into the old habits, right? Or old thinking. Yeah, we know how difficult that can be. What he's talking about, he's calling emotional regulation. And frankly, I'd say a lot of the world doesn't regulate their emotions very well. What would you think? Yeah, been flipped off lately on the freeway? Yeah. Ron came home Friday and shared with me that he just about broke up a fisticuffs in the parking lot at Costco because two guys were fighting over a parking spot. Really? That's obviously unregulated emotions, right? Yeah. So learning to regulate our emotions is about learning to govern our emotional response in order to get that stuff out of the way and be kind. Those two guys could have been kind about that parking spot, right? They could have been, but they weren't. They were not. Our emotions are powerful. They can blind us, can't they? They can blind us to the bigger picture of what's happening. And it's like we've suddenly been fitted with those horse blinders. You know, those they put them on horses and they can't see to the sides. They can just see what's straight in front of them. And that's what happens sometimes when our emotions explode within us. We're just blinded by them, whether it's anger or sadness or fear. And there we are. So learning to see through our emotions allows us to be present to each other and to choose kindness instead. And we're not talking about stuffing or repressing emotions. I relate it more to first responders. First responders, they see some horrible things, right? And they can't allow their emotions to take over and be blinded. They're first responders. They have to be present. They have to be present. And that's us in this realm of deeper kindness. We're first responders. So we have to learn to regulate and govern our emotions in order to be able to respond as kindness in the world. The third area for competency building is learning to stand in the rain together. This can be figurative or literal. And this comes from a story in our book of the month where the author observed one of his friends, acquaintances, actually doing this with someone. It was a physical rain in this particular situation. It's a long story, so I'm not going to tell it this morning, but it prompts the question, would you stand in the rain with someone without an umbrella? Would you do it for a stranger? It depends. It depends. Probably. If it's sitting with someone who is having a crisis, absolutely, I'll sit in that rain all day long. Physical rain? I don't know. Maybe. It's a question that we can ask ourselves. It's the soul-searching questions that we ask. Would I do it? The author suggests that we have three choices of how we will engage with the world around us. The first is apathy. I don't care if others get wet as long as I stay dry. The second is sympathy. Here's an umbrella. Hope it helps. And the third is empathy, where we stand in the rain together. We stand in the rain together. Empathy is not about running away from the hurt or trying to solve the problem. It's discovering our ability to be with it, to be with it, to be in the presence of it. Sometimes that's in the silence. It's just sitting with someone, allowing them to be and to know another human presence is there. Giving someone the gift of listening is the greatest gift we can give anyone. And it's the most difficult thing that we do. The most difficult thing that we do. We are not comfortable in the long pause of silence with someone that we know is hurting. We want to say something. But sometimes we just need to be there. Maybe their story that they're sharing with us reminds us of something that happened to us, and we're going to tell our story because they'll understand that I understand what they're talking about. So I'm going to tell my story. Let me interrupt you and tell you my story because it's so much more important than your story. And we've shut them down now, right? Yeah, listening. Or, well, let me tell you how to fix that. Okay, I got some advice for that. I've done that. I can tell you how to fix that. That's easy. We want to give them advice. We want to tell them how to fix it, how to stop hurting, because we can't stand the hurt. Listening to be present with the other person, just be present with them, is the greatest gift we can give. Do you have the courage to care? Do you have the courage to care? Remember the story last week that Reverend Lee told us about Helga from the book. Helga's the woman that he met on the airplane, and she told the story of how she was flying home and to see her father who was dying, and she landed and found out that he had passed, and she had missed being with him one more time. And she just fell apart in the airport for hours, sobbing. And no one stopped to offer her comfort. No one had the courage to care. No one had the courage to care. The author suggests that stopping requires vulnerability, which is about caring and knowing how to express that care. So vulnerability is another one of those areas that can stop us from stepping in to deep kindness. Oh, I don't want to look like an idiot. I don't know what's going on in that situation. I'm not going to stop. Well, let's face it, I'm traveling, right? I don't have time. All those human things that come up. When the most important thing is the human thing, right? Understanding that practicing deep kindness will almost always cost us our comfort and usually cost us our convenience. We begin to realize, as our author says, the nature of caring involves exposing your neck and your reputation to the teeth of culture and those people too fearful to be bigger than their insecurities. It's tough to publicly cry. It's tougher to publicly care. Ooh. Caring's not a passive sport. Caring, you got to roll up your sleeves and you might have to get your hands dirty. But we have to align our actions with our talking. We have to walk our talk. We have to treat and move our feet, as we say around here, so that we're in alignment energetically and we're a match to kindness. It's giving and receiving. It's that universal law of circulation, and that applies not only to caring and kindness and to prosperity and abundance, but it applies to everything. We get what we give. We get what we give. All right. How many remember that lovely Art Linkletter show? Kids say the darndest things. Yeah, funny show, wasn't it? Those little buggers grew up. And adults now say the darndest things, and they do the darndest things, don't they? And in that doing and saying, people get hurt. People get hurt. Our final competency today is people and their behaviors. Our practice is forgiveness. Brian Stevenson said, each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. Each of us is more than the worst thing we've ever done. Our author made a very interesting suggestion in the book, and I'm including it just because I'd not heard someone really put it this way before, and I'm honestly not sure I agree with it, but I want to throw it out to you and y'all can think about it. He suggests that the pain of unforgiveness can be tied to a subconscious belief that we deserved what was said or done, and as a result, we're feeling hurt and mad at ourselves as well as at them for pointing it out. Yeah. Science of Mind suggests that forgiveness may not be as much about what happened as it is about the stories we've made up about what happened. A practice that will help us with those stories is to reframe them. Make up a better story, right? Make up a better story. We have all, I don't know if we have, but I have heard, there's a story about a man whose son was murdered. And he went to the trial and saw the person get prosecuted and go to prison. And this man did his work for a year or so and came to a point of forgiveness. He went to the prison. He visited the person that killed his son. He made peace with that person. He's written a book. He's gone on speaking tours. He teaches forgiveness work. He was able to, that's deep forgiveness work. That's very deep forgiveness work. But it just proves to us that there are ways to reframe these horrible things that happen in our lives and create a better story for ourselves that's more empowering for our lives. Because forgiveness is for us, right? We know that. Forgiveness is for us. It's not for the other person. And so that's the work. It's a practice, and we get stronger and better at it by doing it daily. We can start with the small things, the little hurts. It's not holding a grudge against somebody, right? Anybody else hold grudges? Yeah, just not holding a grudge about something. Let it go. And then work your way up to the bigger things. All right, so those are the 5 areas that the author suggests that we come up against for stepping over into this idea of deeper forgiveness. Those are the 5 areas. To become more competent in anything, we have to practice, right? We have to practice. If you want to learn to play the piano, you've got to practice it. You got to build some muscles in the fingers and the arms and all the skills and all those sorts of things. Most of us are already kind people. I love you guys. I know you're all very kind people. I see it here all the time. I know we're kind to each other. We're kind to our friends and family. But in a world that's gone completely mad, it's time for us to take this kindness out into the world. It's time to take our kindness out, to put these competencies of deeper kindness into action. Learning to communicate with kindness, choosing how we think, to be mentally prepared to stand in the rain with someone, whether actually or figuratively, to build our courage to show our care to more than just our family and our friends, to everyone that we come in contact with, and to practice forgiveness. These things will transform our individual world, and then it transforms the world of everyone that we meet. Have you noticed when you change, your world changes and everyone in it changes? Yeah, that's the ripple effect, and it's true in kindness also. So when we start practicing this and we allow it to be a part of who we are, we live as kindness, we then begin to see that ripple out in the world. And then those people, it begins to ripple out in their circle, and then their circle, and their circle. And the next thing you know, things start to improve. Hallelujah. So we've got some work ahead of us, don't we? Yeah. All right. If you would like more information about these practices, I invite you to sign up for our Mindful Monday newsletter that comes out every Monday morning. It's a recap of today's talk. It's these practices in detail. You can sign up with the QR code. There's a sheet in the lobby, or you can send me an email. All right, I'm going to just quickly recap the 5 with some practices that you can use this week. And using this material, using the science of mind, is about embodying it in your life so that you do walk this teaching out on a daily basis. And I know many of us in this room do that. And these are the ways that we continue to build and grow and expand on that growing edge. So, number 1, find your words. Find your words. Give someone a heartfelt and genuine compliment this week. Heartfelt and not just nice dress, cute shoes, good haircut, whatever. Those are the surface things, right? The heartfelt. Who are they to you? Who are they to you? Is it someone who's brave? Is it someone who pushes you to believe in you? Is it someone that listens well? Are they helping to make the world a better place? Extra credit? Do it for a stranger, a boss, or a challenging relationship. Number 2, learn to govern. Learn to govern. Notice your emotions this week and when they get the best of you and the blinders come up. Notice when that is. And if you can catch it, or if not, do it after the fact. Choose a healthier emotion. Reframe that situation. Try and understand why they're being a jerk in the moment. And maybe it's something else that's going on. Maybe there's a wounded child response. Maybe they're late for the airport and their parent is sick, or the wife's in the back seat having a baby. You don't know, right? Make up a better story. Learn to govern those emotions. Find compassion. Practice separating the act from the actor. Separate the act from the actor. Number 3, stand in the rain. The practice for this week is to practice deep listening. Notice when you want to interrupt. Don't do it. Notice when you remember your story. Oh. Don't tell it. Okay? Be quiet in the long pause. Feel your discomfort. Feel your discomfort in that and let it just lay there. Let it just lay there. Don't try to fix it. Don't give them advice. Your experiences don't matter. Just be there. I can't wait to hear your experience. Number 4, be courageous. Ask a friend this week for 3 specific things you could do to be a better friend. 3 specific things you could do to be a better friend, and then discuss with them with an open mind and heart what that means. Number 5, forgive. This practice I'm actually taking from Edwene Gaines, Unity teacher, and she says, ask yourself each evening, have I put anyone outside of my heart today? Every day, have I put anyone outside of my heart today? On those days when you say yes, ask 2 questions. Is it the story I've made up about them, or is it because they didn't behave the way I wanted them to behave? Once you've identified this, take the time to forgive yourself for judgments you made in an unconscious moment and release any need to control others' behavior. And then invite that person back into your heart and sleep in peace. So we'll close this morning with a series of questions, actually, by Ernest Holmes. He says, have we kindness for each other? Are we flexible enough to know that everyone does not have to think alike in order to live together harmoniously? Are we able to put ourselves in the other person's place and overlook the irritations of life and reach across all differences of opinion to the common ground on which we stand? So it is. So, comments, questions? Comments, questions? Nothing? I left a lot out. You're going to come up with something?
It's a thing for me. It's when somebody's talking, I think I'm a good listener, and when it gets to the point where they're kind of going off, they're not getting what I'm thinking or what I want them to think. I want to. No, that's not. It's very hard for me to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be that way.
Up until now. Up until now. It's true. It's true because particularly if it's people we know well, we want to finish their sentences. And it's like they're not talking fast enough for me. I'm ahead of you in my mind already. I can finish that sentence. Yeah. But that's not gracious listening, is it?
So recently I've been in my single spirituality relationships for about 5 years, working on myself and my kiddos and my schooling and work and all that good stuff. But I have dated a couple people and I've noticed that it's the negativity they bring out in me, which I know I'm not. And so it's the reaction of just stepping back and not going like that to them, like feeding off of what they are. So yeah, I've worked a lot on that.
Good. Thank you, Amber. Yeah, it's easy to get on the complain train and joining in that negative stuff, and it's our work. We've got work to do. Our work is to turn those conversations. Say, wow, that's an interesting perspective, and then switch it around. But how about this instead?
So I have somebody that's doing this to me right now. I'm talking, I'm saying something, and in the middle, she cuts me off, and I don't get to finish saying what I'm saying. So I get to this point where I listen to her, and then I go, well, for me to continue here, how do you handle that? I mean, there's something, I'm saying something for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
and having it just cut off in the middle like that is just really, it feels like, first of all, they're not listening. Second of all, should I continue? Because are they even listening?
Mm-hmm. I had the same experience last week. You know, I'm gonna say it's gonna be circumstantial. You know, depends on the circumstances and what's going on, and a few ways to handle that, like you're doing, is one way. Another way is, use some humor. Oh my gosh, can I finish? Because if I don't, I'm gonna forget this. I got that senior moment stuff going. I just really need to finish this conversation, or I'm gonna forget it. Something like that, or may I finish, please? Sometimes in a certain circumstances, you just have to do that if it's important. Or you just let it go.
And that's what I've been doing, and I've been feeling, because of that, I feel like, do I really want to be with this person that is just cutting me off all the time?
Yeah.
And listening to me anyhow?
Yeah. So that's the other piece then, is what's the value of that relationship, and is it worth the conversation? This is back to the vocabulary piece, right? Finding the vocabulary and having that conversation of saying, I need, can we, there's 3 things that you could do that would help me be a better friend. And one is to not cut me off when I'm sharing.
Having that hard talk,
Yeah. We've got work to do.
A lot of work. What about the comment of saying, I just need you to listen, not to, I'm not looking for advice. I'm not looking for you to fix anything. I just need you to listen and be quiet.
And what's your question in that?
Is that nice?
Is that
Is
nice?
kind?
Is that nice? Is that kind?
Family. It's hard.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're setting a boundary is what that conversation is, and you're just saying, I really feel a need to just get this off my chest, and I'm not ready to talk about solutions yet. I just really need to share it. Is it something you can listen to for me? And if not, I'll find somebody else that can. Yeah, practitioners and ministers that listen.
Good.
What?
And along that line, I've also, since I am with a lot of girlfriends, I'll
They're
ask
the
them
worst.
I'll ask them straight out. Okay, is this the conversation that you want me to just listen? Do you want to vent, or are you looking for a solution? I ask them straight out.
Yeah, and that's excellent, and that's our work. That's our modeling of how to have conversations like that. I bet they're not doing that yet. But it's good modeling. It's good modeling. It's part of our work again in the world. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you. Yes, Stephanie.
I have one that's actually been on my mind since last week. The story about Helga. It made me think last week, but even more so this week. So I'm approaching, my mom passed away a year ago on Wednesday, right? Mm-hmm. And that story made me think about the traveling back and forth to Atlanta. And I'm sure there was moments where I was broken down in the airport, but I was like, I don't know how that would have been received. Any words that anybody would have said to me, right? Mm-hmm. To stop and say something. Would I have shared, like, my mom just passed away and it was unexpected, and I'm going back and forth. I've got 2 kids with, you know what I mean? And so that's really triggered something inside of me, no matter what words you said, whether they were the kindest words, the most ones that you thought out, would they would I be in a place to really receive them, because it was something that was so deeply personal, right? And a stranger in the airport may not be the person that I would need at that time. So anyways, it just really got me thinking about that, because I was thinking, would I do it? I don't know, because if I step into that person's shoes from my personal experience, I don't know if I could ever say the right thing or the kindest thing or what they needed to hear.
Right. Well, and that goes back to the vocabulary again, and developing that vocabulary for caring, to just be able to sit with that person and say, is there anything you need? And yeah, well, I don't know about touching strangers. That may or may not fly. A touch, a touch on the shoulder. Do you need a hug? Do you need a tissue? Bottle of water? Yeah, but I think that's developing that courage of stepping in and the vocabulary of things to say. And again, it's not this high level trite stuff. It's human to human connection. And because of that experience, you see someone crying in the airport, you might be the one that does stop. You might be the one that can offer that compassionate word.
Can I feed off of that?
Yes, ma'am. Last one.
Okay. So that just brought up a good thing that fed off of what I just said earlier. So I'm trying a new dating app because the struggle's real when you're 38 and dating. But I met somebody recently. We've only been talking for about a week, and we were supposed to go out for dinner and drinks the other night. Well, he found out that he's retired Army. So he found out his friend committed suicide. And the same day and same night that we were supposed to go out. And so I told him, I was like, well, I can just come over and be there for you. Like, we don't have to go to no fancy restaurant or nothing like that. And so I brought food over, and I literally just sat with him and let him talk and stuff. And he's been texting me and like, thank you so much for that. Like, it's all the mental health right now. Like, he's lost a couple other friends too. And he's like, I've never met somebody like that will just come over and sit with me. So that, just sitting, that goes off of everything that we're talking about right now. So
Yes,
you're speaking to
it does.
me.
Yes, ma'am. Good job. That was the perfect reaction to that. Perfect reaction. Just be there, right? Just be there. All right. Thank you all very much. And I would invite you to join me in prayer. So as we go within, we relax into the presence, recognizing that the breath is the place of spirit, the infinite power and presence, the one life. God is all there is, all there's ever been, all there ever will be. God is the light, the power, the source, the energy, the love and joy, peace and harmony, balance, intelligence and wisdom. And we are made of that, for we are all of those qualities of the divine, individualized in expression and form right here, right now, in this time-space reality, miracle of life that each one of us is. To be here now, to be here today in this moment, to be connected in this community, in this room. We are united in the wholeness of that one consciousness, that one life, that one mind. And so I speak my word for and about each one of us, as I know that each of us having those divine qualities of spirit coursing through our brains and our blood and our bodies, that we already have all we need to be the deep kindness that this world needs. We have the vocabulary, we have the courage, we have the forgiveness in our hearts. We have it all right here now already. And so I know that in this moment, in this consciousness of oneness, we open our hearts and we allow that kindness to escape and to go forth out of this room, out of this state, and around this planet to all who need that kindness this day, who need that silent presence that we can be, who need our love, who need our compassion, who need our hands. We hold and uplift our world today in peace and in love. And I know for anyone in this room who has anything on their heart that they are seeking prayer around, that as they lift it into this consciousness of this prayer, that we hold them in our love and our light and our peace, knowing the complete and total manifestation of their prayer for whatever needs to be healed or revealed. And so it is with a gratitude of grace and love and thanksgiving filling my heart to overflowing, that I release this into the action and activity of law, knowing that it is done and it is so. There's nothing else for us to do but just affirm together, and so it is.